Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. Now, as you have probably heard about if you have been floating around on Tomas internet and Tomas Twitter, you would have probably seen that there are more engines being added to the Metal Collection range, which are actually just rehashes of versions from the previous Metal Push-Along, Trackmaster Push-Along range. I heard the rumours and saw the pictures that these had started to show up in Big W in Australia, and I this morning, well, at the time of recording this morning, went straight out to both of the local Big Ws near me. One of them had nothing new. It still had some of the previous wave, which included Henry, James, and Thomas and Percy. But the other one I went to had some of the Winston and Troublesome Truck wave, which has for some reason started to pop up in Australia very, very late. And also this, which is the new quote-unquote old diesel. This is essentially the 2019 diesel with the new wheels on it, which is interesting because if you saw the photos I posted from when I was in Singapore earlier this year, this was one of the engines that was shell forming. Diesel was a big shell former over there, but he's back on shelves. What was interesting about this is that none of the other engines in that wave, which I believe is Harold and Rosie as well, were available. It was just this single little diesel and nothing else. There was some Thomases and some Percys and some Winstons, and that was it. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the infamous new diesel and find out what everyone's talking about online. Let's do it. Here's Diesel. He's back. I'll do a quick spin around of the packaging. So again, you can see it is the new style of packaging where we've got the Metal Collection down the side. We've got the CGI render of Diesel there. That same kind of background we've seen on the other engines. No 80th anniversary logo on this one, which is a bit interesting. Again, he's got the new wheels, but we'll look at those more closely once we get him out of the box. And we come around to the back and you can see here, we've got the usual blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, no Thomas logo. And also we don't have any pictures of the other engines in the range. Interestingly, it says copyright 2026. Normally the copyright is a year or two behind the toy, not ahead of them. So I don't know, again, is this another leak where these have accidentally been put out, you know, in Australia, like the Greatest Moments packs before they were meant to be put out? Who knows? It's a bit random. But yeah, I mean, I hope they're going to plan to put them out because the Thomas metal engines are selling like hotcakes, except for Sandy, of course. So let's get this notorious evil diesel free from his packaging. I'll do the little spin of this quote-unquote brand new Thomas & Friends toy for 2025/2026. Okay, this is the diesel. I don't know whether I have ever in hand reviewed or seen the Trackmaster push-along diesel. It may have been in one of the sets that I reviewed some years ago, and someone will know and probably correct me from watching my old video. I know, for example, I had seen the Annie and Clarabelle in a gift pack set that I did review, but I didn't collect that stuff back then, so I didn't see it. Yeah, this is an interesting diesel. Like a lot of the Metal Collection engines, I think if you look at him from the side, I think he's okay. I mean, obviously he's a bit squished and the proportions are a bit whack because his torso, if you could call it that section, is pretty much the same height as the undercarriage, which makes kind of no sense if you think about it for half a second. Like, the wheels should be much smaller and he should be much taller. But that aside, I mean, there's all the right details for Diesel are there. They're not picked out in any paint. But again, Diesel doesn't really have a lot of things that could be picked out in paint, so that's fine. I do like the side rod detailing here, and I wonder if that factored into why they released Diesel in this line, so it kind of matched what's going on with the Thomas, Percy, James, Henry situation in this line. And you can see again, they have updated him to give him the new train wheels that they're doing for this year. Come around to the front, I think this is a great diesel face. I mean, it's obviously a CGI smiling diesel, and if you're not a smiling diesel person, then you're not going to like this face. But for what it's trying to be, I think it's actually really good. They've done that same design that we saw a lot of in All Engines Go, where they paint the running board red or a color and then leave the buffers unpainted, so then it looks like the buffers are painted. That's fine, I'm happy with that. Again, we have the couplings here on the front. Come around the back, we do have a painted buffer beam at the back, which is nice. Come to the bottom, he's got diesel written there. Interesting, you can see copyright 2020 for this one. But yeah, I don't know if the old ones had the writing like that, but the new engines I'll show in a second have it printed on with like white text, which is interesting. And then oh no, there is a rivet in there, it just looks a bit naff. The real problem with these engines is, and I did talk about this I think when I reviewed the Snowplow Thomas from memory, is that they're just too wide at the bottom. The proportions are not right. They're too short on top and too wide at the bottom to be able to work on Trackmaster track. I think that problem is slightly less bad now with the new wheels, because the new wheels don't stick out as far as the old ones did, but it's still a problem. You look at this from the front, again, if we just went like this, you're like, oh, that's a pretty cool looking diesel, and then you go, oh no, he's like really thick, but not in a good way. I think because diesel's all black, he kind of hides it a bit better than some of the other engines do and did. But yeah, it's still got that problem where it's still just too wide at the bottom. This top part needed to be scaled up by probably 20%, 30%, and then it would have scaled much, much better. So what we have is this weird scenario now where we have the brand new Thomas, who's been scaled up so that he is much more in scale with his wheels and that wider wheelbase. And we've got the old diesel who has not been scaled up, and so therefore he has that effect of looking very funky. It doesn't also help that the way these chassis were designed, the buffers are quite high up, and there's this like weird rounded section here, which kind of makes him, yeah, that front bit looks much worse than the design they have gone for here with Thomas. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about when you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the way they do the printing on the bottom. Obviously, we do have the same wheels, but no external side rods. Has got updated with the new coupling. Oh no, hasn't even got the new coupling color. That's a lie. This is the darker plastic. This is the lighter plastic. And you can see again, if we put them side by side like this, like it doesn't look terrible, but you can tell that, you know, we all know Diesel's supposed to have a huge face compared to the other engines, and he's quite small. So yeah, the height situation here is just not, I don't love it. Yeah, you can tell, if you know anything about anything, you can tell that these are not from the same design hand, and not quite the same design ethos in terms of the way they present. I mean, even just, you know, the levels that we have in this Thomas, we have the cab that's raised up, then we have come down, we've got the separate whistles, dome, funnel, whereas this Diesel is very much of this era where they tried to flatten out the top of the engines as much as they possibly could, whereas, you know, obviously Diesel's cab should actually pop up quite a bit. So yeah, this is interesting. I see why they're trying to do it. They're trying to fill out the roster while they work out what they're doing with the rest of the show, and I guess they thought these were the best they could do. But, you know, you kind of wonder, like, what was the point? Why would you bother? One, I'm kind of impressed they still have the old toolings for these at all, to be honest. And two, you know, yeah, I guess they updated the wheels, but, like, why would you go to the effort of updating the wheels and then just not do anything else? Not even update the couplings. Like, what? They're the same piece, aren't they? I don't understand. So yeah, this is a puzzling one. I hope that you enjoyed this little look at the new quote-unquote Diesel. Very curious to see what Rosie, I think Edward and Yong Bao have been spotted as well. So interesting to see if I can find them. I'll pick them up to take a look at. But otherwise, yeah, I think if you are not a collector, you can pass. I don't hate that these exist. I'd rather that they reissue these until they sort out the new show. So at least there are more characters available, more options available for people, because one of the big problems with the stock for AEG was that they kept remaking the same characters over and over again, and so they shell-formed and didn't get restocked. So I'm very happy to see they're introducing new characters. The fact that they haven't been redesigned, though, is a bit unfortunate. Although that said, I appreciate that if this line is meant to be a stopgap line until the new show/toys come out, I understand why Mattel didn't want to invest money in new toolings. So I'm not mad about this existing. I just don't think that it's not a substitute for this kind of design, but I also don't think it was ever trying to be a substitute for that design. So that's kind of where I landed on this one, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who have their own thoughts in the comments below, and I can't wait to see them. So let me know what you think about this new Diesel. That's all I've got time for. Let's see Extreme Trains.